All right. We're going to keep this rolling, my friends. I get to introduce Robert Beasley, the CEO of Consortium, also known as Fluent Cannabis. Fluent Cannabis, the brand that they're operating under. Robert, welcome. Is it CNTMF, the ticker on the OTC? Did I get that right?
Yes, CNTMF, and then on the Canadian exchange is TIUM.
TIUM, Canadian, CNTMF. All right, my friend, I'll let you jump right in, and I will be ready for some questions at the end.
Okay, thank you. So as indicated, I'm Robert Beasley, the CEO of Fluent, and I have a presentation here today I'd like to go through to acquaint you with our company and kind of talk about a little bit of the new and exciting things that we have coming in now in 2021. The Fluent footprint at this point operationally consists of Florida, whereby we have 2 cultivation lab facilities. We have 24 dispensaries existing at this time, 4 coming soon. Our next one will be Miramar, Florida, which will come online hopefully in the next month, and then Deerfield Beach, and then Fruitland, which is down by the Villages in Florida. Our main cultivation and packaging processing center is in Tampa, Florida, and then we have another facility in Sweetwater, Florida, which is about an hour east of Tampa. We also are one of 3 licensees in Texas. As everyone probably knows, the Texas legislature is meeting currently, and there is a bill in the Senate which hopes to expand both the THC limits as well as some of the other obstacles and eliminate some of the other obstacles to entry into that market. We currently have a cultivation center and lab there, although it's a fairly small footprint, and we're hoping to expand as soon as the legislative process resolves. In Michigan, we are an outdoor cultivator. We have a cultivation and processing scenario there with no retail. And in Pennsylvania, we have retail. We have a dispensary open in the southeast region, which is Hanover. We have also a dispensary under construction in Mechanicsburg. We anticipate that to open July 1. And we've now located a 3rd dispensary site just north of Mechanicsburg, and we anticipate opening that store in December of 2021, although there are no store dynamics factored into our 2021 budget from that store. Within Florida, as indicated, we have the 24 stores. We are expanding to the 3 additional stores, and we have a good coverage in Florida. The early focus was in Dade, Broward County, then Hillsborough County. Our best stores this last year were actually in Duval County, being the Jacksonville stores. One of the things we've been working on since I took the chair in September is increasing production and yield out of the Tampa facility. We are continuing to increase the number of grams per week we get out of Tampa with the harvest scenario. We've now switched over to a cocoa grow system, and illustrative is the plant scenario on the right-hand slide there. That's the same plant, different, same age plant, different grow medium, different grow techniques. So we're really happy with the yield improvements out of Tampa and expect that increased yield will, of course, lead to increased sales. The Pennsylvania market is an interesting one. Everyone anticipates Pennsylvania to go recreational and follow the band across the top of the country there. The population is the 12.8. It's the 5th most populous state. We have seen tremendous increases, increase both in patient count, 66%. Our Hanover store has increased. It finished strong in 2020 with right at 7 million, a little under 7 million in sales. But what's interesting about that dynamic is the growth in the last quarter, Q4 of 2020, was tremendous. Pennsylvania started the year 2021 strong and continues to increase. Talked about Texas already. The big pickup in the legislative effort this year is going to be the add of PTSD, which is a non-hard diagnosis, what I call a soft diagnosis. Plus, they're going to add chronic and acute pain and increase THC to 5%. Now, 5% is not ideal. Of course, we would like to see no limit on THC or at least 10%. But the challenge there politically is the lieutenant governor, who chairs the Senate. And all negotiations at this point are with the lieutenant governor, who really just doesn't support the program. So hopefully we can pull through and get this expansion in place. Following that, we would work with EPS to work on some of the other market limitations, such as the number of retail stores. Currently, one of the market limiting factors is that you can only have a retail store connected to your grow facility, which of course limits you to one retail store in a state the size of Texas and limits you then to home delivery. So we're hoping those changes occur, which would allow us a fourth quarter focus on building our Texas market. We currently partner on several brands. The most popular growing sector is our edibles. Edibles is our fastest growing market sector in Florida. We've partnered with Smokies. We're currently offering 6 flavors with a profile of another 6 or 7 flavors that we can bring out. And we're just rolling out those flavors in participation with our customer feedback and to determine what balance that they're looking for. The exciting new rollout for Fluent in Florida was the Sweetwater brand. Sweetwater is the branding of flower that's coming out of our Sweetwater facility. And that facility is focused on indoor grow, small batch, high quality flower. I think everyone realizes that the race is on in Florida for increasing both quantity and quality of flower. The type of product that has been sold so far has it's not in a situation that would be competitive to some of the markets out west. And now all of the companies are starting to focus on bringing a better quality with a higher THC limit, higher terpene profile, and just a more rich product to the market. I seem to have a technical issue here. I can't get past that slide, so I'm not really sure how to help that situation. What I intended to talk about and show slides on are the Florida growth highlights. I'm going to proceed without the slide because it's not advancing for whatever reason. Florida growth is exciting for us. We came out of 2020 with a $53 million scenario of revenues, adjusted gross profit at 33, adjusted gross margin at 63.5, and EBITDA at 10.3. We're looking at a projected 2020 revenue of company-wide of between 90 and 100 million. So you can see that significant growth. That is leads to a projected EBITDA of 30 to 35 million. We have an intent to expand our cultivation center in Tampa. Let's see if I can find a picture of that. And my slides don't go that far, so I can't help you with that. But we intend to expand that facility. We currently are at 22,000 square foot of indoor cultivation and administrative space. Our expansion includes another 20,000 square foot. We have that facility is under construction presently to expand another 20,000 square foot. It includes another 4,000 square foot of canopy space. Our Sweetwater facility, as I've described, is a little east of Tampa, and it is 26,000 square foot, currently in construction. We have 11 rooms intended inside of the facility. We're currently growing in 6, and we have the other remaining 7 under construction now. We also have a greenhouse being constructed out back, and it's a 40,000 square foot facility and should be in production by July. Michigan has been a challenge for us as far as product sales. We had an excellent crop come out of the 2020 year, and as those who've tracked Michigan recognize, there was a massive price manipulation that occurred, and we're just now selling the 2020 crop at the same time we're starting the 2021 crop. We will continue to grow approximately 5,000 plants there. We anticipate an outdoor harvest there in October. We are also expanding our footprint there to get us indoors. Michigan growing outdoors is a tricky area. We're about an hour and a half from the lake there. So we need to get indoors. We need to start growing inside in a greenhouse to supplement and complement our outdoor growth. And we are currently siting that location so that we can start construction on the greenhouse. We currently just finished financially. We're in good shape. We just finished a debt raise. We attempted to raise $60 million. We were oversubscribed, greatly oversubscribed, to double that amount. Had to trim it back to $71 million. The interesting thing about that debt dynamic for us is traditionally and previously, companies, U.S. companies like Fluent, could only obtain investor support in Canada. Our prior debt holders and our prior investors were mostly Canadian. This round, the remarkable thing about this round, other than the tremendous interest, was that our debt holders are now primarily U.S. companies. There's a lot of U.S. interest in the cannabis space. We are excited to see it. We, of course, we're happy to receive it. We simultaneously or near simultaneously did a equity raise, again, with tremendous enthusiastic support. We went out to raise 10 and we raised 17 and shut it off at that point. And so the combination of the debt raise and equity raise allows us to restructure our balance sheet, resolve any and all existing issues, and provide money in the coffers for CapEx improvements. We now are deploying that capital. We had already in place several multi-phased cultivation expansion projects, one being the Sweetwater, and we were just waiting on the money, so to speak. So what we've done now is deployed that capital in a construction schedule that we anticipate will be complete by the end of 2021. So what you'll see with Fluent in revenues is a ramp up of production and a commensurate ramp up of revenues. The issue in Florida that everyone has is production. Sales do not seem to be the challenge. There is a tremendous amount of demand in Florida, and if you have it to sell it, you can sell it. We think our store footprint is adequate. We think our expansion pace of our store footprint is adequate to keep pace with our production expansion. So we're excited about that. We're excited about now having the capital to be able to deploy. And we think that 2021 is going to be a great year, with 2022 being an even better year. Once we get to the end of 2021, we will easily be at an annualized 100 million to 140 million of revenue potential. And then we'll hopefully have the opportunity to realize those revenues in 2022. As we settle in January, we should be able to continue growth of the dispensary footprint and then have the adequate production to back it up. At the same time, we will start casting our attention over to Texas. By September, we hope that the legislation will be signed and DPS will start working on us, which allows us a fourth quarter focus on the Texas market. Texas has a tremendous amount of potential as soon as the regulatory obstacles are removed. So with that, I think, unfortunately, without being blessed with the rest of the PowerPoint, I think that concludes my presentation, and I thank you for your time here today.
That will work. That will work, Robert. Thank you. If you don't mind, I do have a couple of quick questions. We have a few minutes left if you'd like to answer some.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So you talked a little bit about the Texas market, and I know that there are some regulatory hurdles there with legislation that will have to get passed. But I'm actually in Michigan. That's where Benzinga is based, and Texas is a market we don't talk about often enough, right? What should we know about that potential for that market, especially if things go well, if you can start getting in there and focusing on that market in Q4, as you mentioned? Where does that market grow to?
So the only limitation on Texas right now is the legislation. The DPS, the agency in charge of regulating the program, has been very proactive. They've been very cooperative. We have not seen any issues with DPS being the holdup. The fact is they only have what they have to work with. Texas is following the pathway of most southern states, and I think it's the pathway we'll see with Alabama and Georgia and Louisiana as those states come online. Is go slow, convince the legislative members that this allowing cannabis in your state is not going to end up with a bunch of drug crazed people running around. That this is good medicine, and so. The couple steps that I just mentioned are tremendous. First of all, adding PTSD is tremendous. It's a soft diagnosis. Everyone knows now that the medicine supports the effectiveness of PTSD. Adding acute and chronic pain is tremendous. The problem is the THC limit. So even though going from 0.5 to 5 is tremendous increase, we're probably going to end up in a scenario in this next cycle before we get to the legislation again, where you have a condition like PTSD, but 5% really isn't an effective dosage. It'd be almost as if you were only allowed to take one Advil. Well, really, to handle your inflammation and so forth, you need 2 or 3. And so we have not been successful in convincing those who are in the swing vote there that 5% isn't sufficient. So we'll take what we get. What 5% does do is it allows us to start offering products, edibles, tinctures, creams, other types of products. With the CBD limits increasing, we can get some good ratios in there, and we can actually provide a profile of products to the patients. So we will continue to focus on that and sell what we can sell and provide what we can provide within the limitations. The big step up, though, is going to be with DPS. After this legislation gets signed, they are going to have to come to an understanding about the retail situation. Currently there's one retail allowed attached to your cultivation center, which means if I wanted a store in downtown Austin, I'd have to have a greenhouse attached to it, which is a physical impossibility. And so we need to work with DPS to understand that Texas is a big state, and home delivery in Texas is not an effective way to get to the customers. So I think what happens is what we saw in Florida was, Florida went through a low THC and then a higher THC transition, and then flower and then edibles. That's kind of the transition with Florida. If the current increases in THC allow us to have products on the market, then we can start attracting those patients. Patients can start to become more educated about these products. And that's the key in a young state or a new state like Florida, is you have a lot of new entry patients. And so we need to reach those new entry patients and say, have you tried this? Can you replace your traditional pain relieving medicines with this? And so it's a lot of patient education is what you're going to see. Hopefully we're allowed the presence in retail to be able to develop these patient education centers where they can come in, get information, learn about products, and maybe try a few to see if it works for their condition.
Awesome. Robert, I really appreciate you saying more about that. I know a lot of the investors watching now are always looking for catalysts. So it sounds like that the opening of that Texas market even further might be something that could be a boon not only for the region but for Fluent. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Now, where can folks reach you, Robert, or the team? Do we have a website that we can put up? There we go. Fluent.com. Is that correct?
Right. And we do have an investor link there which goes over to our investor group as well as the IR firm. And if you go through that link, you can talk directly to us. I get copied on all those emails, so sometimes I jump in and interact directly. And sometimes I defer the more economic questions to the IR group or to the CFO. But that's how you could reach us.
Awesome. Well, Robert Beasley, thank you so much, the CEO of Fluent Cannabis. Fluent Cannabis. Thank you again for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.